There and welcome to the Wealth Table, where mindfulness and action lead you to being wealthy. My name is Kimberly Y. Evans, and I am one of the co-hosts and co-founders for the Wealth Table.
And hello, my name's Catherine Erickson, the other co-founder and co-host. So today we're going to talk about a very famous social researcher who's out of Austin. She actually teaches at UT. And no, I didn't actually meet her. First time I learned about her was in 2012 in Austin when I went to the women's conference. And she was one of the speakers. And I don't know how to describe it. She captivated the room. I can't tell you what she talked about. All I know is that the 500 women who were sitting there listening to Brene Brown knew that she was going to be somebody at some time. And this was right before she went on Oprah. This was right before she became a household name. So now she's got a new book out coming out on September 23rd. And Kimberly and I are so excited about this. Kimberly, tell us what you think will help our listeners and watchers on the Well Table from Brene Brown's newest book.
Okay, so I'm super excited about this because Brene Brown writes in a way that you can apply whatever she's talking about to all aspects of your life. And obviously, we're the Wealth Table. So most everything we talk about is your relationship with money, how we're using money, the practical guides for money. But we really want to also enhance everybody's life. So this new book is called Rising Strong. And she outlines 3 steps. It's a 3-step process to overcome failure and grow from setbacks.
Okay. And I can see how that would apply to money.
Uh-huh. And so, but here's the beautiful thing, right? Much like us, she tells you, one of the problems people have in life, right? And we talk about this on the Wealth Table sometimes, is people tell people what to do, but they don't tell them how to do it. And in this new book, she's not only telling you what to do, she's also telling you how to do it. So these 3 steps are the reckoning, which involves acknowledging and exploring emotions to understand their triggers and connections to thoughts and actions. The second step is the rumble, which requires confronting. Now, that's a strong word, requires confronting and owning the stories we tell ourselves about our struggles, challenging them with self awareness and honesty to find truth. And then the last step is the revolution, and it is about writing a new, more courageous ending to the story by applying the learnings from the rumble to make positive, transformative changes in life.
Okay. So basically, what she has discovered is that we all tell ourselves stories about what happens. That's how we find meaning in our life. Events are neutral, but we make them personal. And that's what forms our personal perspective is this accumulation of stories. And if they're negative stories like, I just overdrew my bank account again, or I forgot to pay that credit card bill, whatever it is, especially in terms of money. Money brings so much strong emotion. And so this is a great framework to put on top of your last incident where you were judging yourself, criticizing, feeling guilty or shameful, and kind of stepping back and saying, okay, what's really going on here? Is that your take on the on what she's saying?
It is. And I love the fact that she's going to tell us. And so we're going to walk through these how these steps really work. But one of the things I thought was interesting is if you remember one of the quotes that you and I fell in love with from Brene Brown before was in the absence of facts and data, people make up stories.
Yes.
And so this rising strong really also says, okay, when we have setbacks and failures, we're again relying and or we're in the absence of facts and data and we're making up stories. So this book is like, okay, now that we all acknowledge that we do that, how do then we get out of that? How do we get beyond that? How do we get past that victim mentality, the woe is me mentality, or the it only happened to me when it probably happened to thousands of other people? How do we get out of that framework? And so I love how she went through what those steps are to get you beyond them and for you to grow. So yes, I took it that way. I thought it was so applicable and I think it's so important because you and I always talk about the fact that money is not alive. We give it value, we give it significance, and really money is just math and science. It's not really an emotional thing until we turn it into one. It's either is or is not. And so the moment we start treating our money mathematically and scientifically, that's really when we start winning this money game. But we have to get out of our own way first to be able to do that.
All right, so let's talk about the three steps. The reckoning is the first step. And
Mhm.
you already said what it is, involving acknowledging and exploring emotions to understand their triggers and connections to thoughts and actions.
And so what was interesting about this is she says the first step is to recognize and acknowledge it, the emotional shifts, but then she says to get curious about your emotions, exploring what you are feeling and how these feelings connect to your thoughts and behaviors. And I would imagine, especially for people that are kind of wired like me, like my emotions are not the first place I run to, or the first thing that I process, or the first
No,
thing
they're
that I
not.
think about, but to get curious about them and explore them and understand why you're feeling them and where that might be coming from sounds like an amazing exercise to get you not just out of your head, but to really connect it all so that you can figure out how to get beyond it.
Well, and just for our audience, a little refresher, emotions don't appear out of anywhere. They're not, and they're not substantive. What you feel in this moment isn't what you're going to feel in the next moment. So, how are emotions created? They're created by your thoughts. And your thoughts form beliefs, and your beliefs form and trigger emotions or generate emotions. So, what she's doing is taking us back to recognize that emotions are fluid. They are not concrete. They're not permanent, and they're can be easily influenced by negative thoughts, feelings, and also external influences. I know my parents, bless their heart, they were very critical of any money mistakes. And that's just the way they learned and taught us. So I took that, being very sensitive, I took that literally and figuratively as I'm bad with money. And it took me a
Mm,
long time to unravel that. But I think that's a very common pattern, especially in the United States, because we're bombarded with all these sales messages. It's a consumer culture. And then when you fall into spending money as a consumer, you get judged or you judge yourself. So finding the emotion and then kind of peeling it apart to say, well, what is really going on here? What do I believe? What were the thoughts that lead up to me experiencing this emotion? That's a great way to be objective.
yeah, and I think it's important to ask yourself why you believe it, right? Because a lot
Yes.
of times we believe stuff just because somebody else told us, and we never stop to say, but is that true for me?
Right.
Or was it true in the first place? And so one of the things she says in this reckoning stage is to put names to those feelings to gain clarity and better understand the emotions associated with the situation. So now if you can imagine stopping to give your emotions a name or your feelings a name and figure out what it is. I mean, I imagine just going through this reckoning period of time, you're going to discover a lot of things about yourself, and how you really want to move forward from there. And so the second step then is the rumble. This
Yeah.
is owning your own story. Now, this is one of the things I think is interesting because most of us who don't like our own stories then tend to make up other stories
Mhm.
or just act like the story never happened in the first place.
Right. Right.
So, this is the step where you get honest about the stories you're making up, about the difficult situation, the other people involved, and yourself. Challenge these narratives, asking what more you need to learn about the situation, others, and yourself to gain clarity. And then distinguish between truth and self protection by critically examining your assumptions and confabulations.
Excuse me. Confabulations. What?
So now everybody's gonna pull out a dictionary or go to Google and be like, what does that mean? Yeah, so I think what she's really trying to say is that we just fabricate a whole lot of things. We
Oh,
probably are making them up. We're probably creating stories, we're creating better stories, or maybe we're taking it to the extreme of we created this horrible story so that everybody then will feel sorry for us. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to dig into that. Once the book comes out, we're gonna have to read it because I'm sure she goes into detail about that. But I think this step is really important because I think, the rumble is where you have to kind of do that work that really makes you have to be 100% honest with yourself and really facts and data, right? Back to that concept of, is that really what happened? Is that just your perception of what happened? Or is that the story you chose to tell yourself? If it did happen, how are you going to handle it? I mean, I think it really requires some self examination through everything that you're dealing with.
Right. And self-examination can be hard. So
It
be
is hard.
gentle with yourself. But
Hmm.
the beauty of spending the time to unravel these stories and the conflagration,
Some
what was
fabulations.
confabulation, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Unraveling all that is you begin to see what is true for you and what isn't. And believe me, there's a lot that you believe subconsciously that isn't true for you.
Right.
But you picked it up in childhood. You heard your parents arguing. You heard someone say this. I mean, I had a belief forever that you cannot make money being a creative, an artist, a musician, a writer, a singer. Because when I was 8 or 9, my older brother wanted to go get his degree in music in college. He was ready to go to college. And that was the whole discussion that went on was, oh, you can't support yourself, blah, 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 blah. So that got into my subconscious. And I've had to really work hard to dig that out and look at it and go, that is absolutely not true. Of course, this
Hmm.
was before the internet. So
Right.
now with the
That's true.
internet, it actually definitely is not true. But anyway, that's just one quick example. And one thing you can do at this stage at the Rumble is write down the story that you know needs to be unraveled. And then write down the names of the characters involved. Treat it like it is a book or even a movie. And dispassionately look at who said what was their motivation, what happened, and you'll be able to get a totally different perspective.
Hmm. And one of the things I would challenge us to do is really think about, even if it was true before, is it still true today?
Right.
Right? Because you're not the same person you were when you made that mistake. So if it was a mistake you made even 5 years ago, are you still that same person today? But are you still beating yourself up from 5 years ago? Like, give yourself some grace, love on yourself, and understand that life is a journey. The growth opportunity is limitless. So you don't have to be stuck anywhere unless you choose to be.
True.
So, and then the last thing she talks about was the revolution, writing a new ending. So, using the insights gained from the Rumble to create positive changes in your life. Write a new, more courageous ending to your story by incorporating what you have learned from the process, and then apply the new story to transform how you live, love, lead, and engage with the world.
Yeah, I love that word revolution because it,
I
it
do
means a
too.
total upset of what is now
Hmm.
and a recreation or rebirth. So, a
Hmm.
revolution in your finances, just imagine that. Imagine that you are good with money. You make sound financial decisions, and the money that you receive coming in is invested wisely and saved and tithed and you've got it going on. And just imagine once you have that base, that solid foundation of sound financial management, what you can build on top of that. And on top of that, you're no longer stuck in this loop of being afraid of paying the bills or even opening the bills, either as an email or if you still get bills in the mail. But it's such a freeing concept to take care of your money, have it work for you. Don't just spend and save, have it work for you. Be sure you invest. And then what are you here to do? Who are you here to be? And money can help support you in on that journey instead of you feeling like, oh, I'll never get to it because I don't have enough money.
Yep. And so I want to repeat these 3 steps because I really want to encourage everybody to do them. So the reckoning is walking into your story. So really getting into your story. The rumble is owning your story. And then the revolution is writing a new ending. So I want to encourage everybody to do this because here's a beautiful thing about life that we get to do is that we get to decide. Like, we always talk about this, the mindset of scarcity or the mindset of prosperity, the mindset around this is where we've always come from. Well, that may be true, but you don't have to stay here. Or I did this so wrong for the first 20 years of my life. Okay, but you don't have to stay here. I want something different. Okay, we'll go get it.
Yeah.
right? And once you internalize that and realize, like, okay, no, I'm just gonna go get it. And it's like everybody around you might say, well, no, you can't do that. You can't be the first. You can't do this. Well, nobody's ever done that before. That just means it's waiting for you to go do it. Go get it. Go do it. Whatever it is, just go try because you're gonna feel so fulfilled in being true to who you are. And I really want to encourage everybody to understand that we were intended to be uniquely different. We were never intended, we were not created to be all alike. There is a reason you are uniquely you, and we really appreciate that. And I think going through this and your relationship with your money will let you understand that you have the power to control how your money story is going to end up. And at the wealth table, you can sit down and share that story with other people at our table and say, hey, by the way, I did it and so can you.
Right. I love that, Kimberly. So I always tell my clients, money is just an effect. You are the cause.
Mhm.
And money reflects who you are being in the moment. So if you have difficulty with money, if you don't have enough, if there's problems, issues, look at who you're being. And it goes back to that scarcity mindset. A scarcity mindset will always attract more scarcity. An abundance mindset will always attract more abundance. And you know what? Both types of mindsets are always present. And once
Yes.
you get that, once you realize that, that Brene Brown quote of without facts and data, we create stories. Can you see now if you look at your facts and data of your money relationship and then see the stories you've created, how they interact? But if you
Mhm.
change the story, it's going to change the money. It's a
Mhm.
dance. So
And it is a beautiful dance though, because it can end up right where you really understand, like, I get to choose. Like, wealth is not
yeah,
a dollar figure. So, for example, everybody wants something, but what if you don't want that? That's perfectly okay. You may be perfectly content in a log cabin in the woods somewhere because that's the lifestyle you want to live.
right,
That's okay. Right. So, the measurement of success is not based on
right,
what everybody else is doing, what everybody else wants. Ask yourself, do you even really want that?
right. Yeah. And
Yep.
that's true. And what is your truth? That's really
Mm.
what we're coming down to. So
Yes.
thank you for being here. This is such a fun discussion and conversation. We'd love
Mhm.
to hear from you. This is the Wealth Table, where everyone has a seat at the table. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. See you next
Bye.
time.